Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This time on the Kindness Project, The Q, Fred the Bear, and we're part 2 of our interview with Vasanti Hirani.
Hello and welcome to the Kindness Project. We're actually on tour today, aren't we? Because we're doing the Kindness Project from Scotland. They give me a bit of Scotland, Soph.
Scotland.
Well done. Oh, I tell you what, Charlotte. I am joined by a girl who's got an amazing Scottish accent and a girl who hasn't. You can decide which is which. It's Charlotte and Sophie. How are we doing today?
And a friend.
And we've got a friend who's a bear, apparently. Who's doing my intro today?
Okay, I'll do yours. God, okay, this has put me on the spot. I thought Soph was going to do it or something. Okay, I'm joined by a man who, despite a brief explanation, is still very confused by the Q.
I am confused by the Q. I can't be alone. I know what the Q means now. I know what the Q means. The Q is actually a C. It should be LBGTC for confused.
This isn't a radio
Because
show.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that's confused. I asked you. You were confused.
We're all confused.
We're all confused.
I don't even know what it means.
Don't worry about it.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Don't worry about it. We're all confused by the Q. And would you like to do an intro?
Oh, I'm going to introduce Fred.
Fred, go on.
I'm introducing a tiny bear, and he's very small.
Yes, this is an audio podcast, so if you can't just pat the bear up, they can hear it.
Yeah, you can't just pat the bear for about 5 minutes.
And he's almost...
Because even though it looks cute, on a podcast it doesn't really play.
And he's almost the size of my hand.
A bear that almost the size of your hand, and that bear is called Ted.
Fred.
Right, now, listeners, what you just didn't see, because this is audio, is somebody has just spilled a massive cup of hot chocolate on the tablecloth and decided to lick it. Go and get a cloth while me and Charlotte chat, and you can clear up your hot chocolate. Oh, I tell you what, one day, listeners, we will get professional. It won't be today, clearly. It won't be today. So,
No, I think that this is just the kind of shambolicism we use in this
Oh!
show. And with that, we're going to segue to our question of the podcast.
well, this is the interesting thing, because I think shambolicism should mean professional shambolicness. Is shambolicness a word? Probably not. I've gone 3-way, but the question of the podcast...
Can I tell them?
Oh, Sophie's going to tell you what the question of the podcast is, which is, Soph...
Drum roll, please. Give us a random word that you've made up and tell us what it means.
Give us a random word that you've made up and tell us what you mean. So, Charlotte is shambolic.
Shambolicism, the professionalness of shambolic.
Now, I think that might be an actual thing. Professional shambolicness. We could be the vanguard for that, couldn't we? Because we get this podcast out. We get this podcast out every week. It's all a bit.
You know what surprises me? People listen.
People do listen. 18,000 listeners, Charlotte. 18,000 people.
Can I tell them my word?
Go on then.
Pandaroo. It's when you're acting like a panda and you're jumping up and down really high.
I love it. Pandaroo. What was your one, Charlotte?
I said shambolicism.
Shambolicism. I can't remember what my one was. Can you?
Make a new one up. Do it.
It was between fancy and shambolic.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. But it was one of those games that you play when you're in the car and a bit bored.
Yeah, it was either this or Random Noises Part 3.
Yeah.
So.
And the reality is, the drive up to Arbroath on the east coast of Scotland, where we are right now, is long.
9 hours.
So yeah, we had to.
Since we had to stop in Manchester to pick this one up.
Yeah, I was in Manchester for a couple of days, which was amazing.
2 days, I didn't even notice.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for that. I consider myself quite a good dad, but the fact that you didn't even notice I wasn't there, I don't know.
I didn't even see you.
I don't know whether that says more about you or me. What do you think?
Yeah.
Don't worry, Dad, she wasn't the only
Yeah.
one.
I've never been so insult-mented in my life.
I noticed Thursday morning, but didn't bring it up until Thursday night.
Oh, right, okay.
Soph didn't bring it up till Friday morning,
Right,
and we went and picked you up on Friday.
true. Okay. But I will...
Where's Dad?
Where's that man who usually lives in our house? Is he coming back anytime soon? So, today, my friend, we'd like to hear about your words. They're a combination of two words that you've made up that mean something new.
Or one word, not a join, that means something real.
What do you mean?
Or one word that you just was like,
As long as it's made up, it doesn't matter, does it? Yeah, as
And
long
we
as
need
it's
to mean
made
it
up,
as
it
well.
doesn't matter. That's fine. And you can get in touch with us in a variety of different ways. Now, Soph, you've been involved in the podcast a couple of times now, so can you remember how people get in touch?
on Facebook, I don't know.
Oh,
On the search bar,
oh, she knows my ways.
Right.
Anyway, I was going to say Twitter because I know how I say it annoys you, so honour kindness.
Now, this is a word that you've just made up, right? I mean, actually, holler kindness could be a invented word, couldn't it? Holler kindness. Holler kindness. Could we?
No,
is that,
that just sounds racist.
I mean,
Not the way me and you would say it. The way you were saying it sounds some kind of racist.
is one Scotland all right though? Scotland.
Scotland.
That's not.
You guys are bad about that though, but you've had years practice on that one.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay. So holler at holler kindness. HOLA KINDNESS.
Can I do Google?
You can do Google.
Kindness Project.
Yep, just Google the Kindness Project and you can find us.
And the email at holla@thekindnessproject.co.uk.
And we're all over the web because we've got our own little website, www.thekindnessproject.co.uk, and you can find the following. You can find every single one of our 90-odd episodes. Are you boiling, Soph?
Yeah, I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
90 episodes. Are we really that far in?
Yeah, we're nearly at 100. I'm amazingly excited to get
Oh my God.
to the
When
100.
we get to 104, that's 2 years.
No, when we
That's 2 years worth of episodes, yeah. High five.
Then can I
we-
whisper something?
No, because I'm actually recording a podcast in a minute. I don't know if you noticed. You're meant to be on it. So we have done
That's
nearly.
shambolicism, so.
Yeah. The shambolicism means that you've got to be shambolically professional. That's the
I don't
thing.
even know what shambolic means.
Okay, fair enough. So the reality is we've been doing this nearly for 2 years. We've had some amazing guests. We're going to carry on doing it because we love it, and our 18,000 listeners now expect it, don't they? Yes.
Can me and Charlotte do some emotional singing?
No.
No, because the podcast about kindness isn't about emotional singing. It's about.
Angry singing.
Can I talk about the fact that on the website you can find all of our episodes. You can buy our merch. Merch. That is an amazing little word, isn't it? Merch. And
You know what it's short for? Merchandise.
true. And you can sort of find out a little bit about the podcast. We're going to be doing loads more videos over the course of the next 6 months, so look out for them. We're going to do loads more videos. We're going to have a little YouTube channel that Sophie's going to get involved in.
Are we going to start Facebook Live in them again?
We might start Facebook Live in them again, so we're going to do all of that. So loads, we're 100 in, nearly 2 years into the project, but loads more coming up. So shall we get on with the show?
Yes.
So today, in our interview section, And if you're a new listener to the Kindness Project, because I know that we're getting quite a lot of them at the minute, the Kindness Project is all about sharing the stories of people doing awesome stuff in the world. And this lady who we started the interview last week for, Vaz, does awesome work in Nepal. In this second part of the interview, we talked to her about that. In addition to that, we ask her some of our famous
Question of the podcast. Woo!
Shall we listen?
Yes.
So
We have the dog lady, we have the cattle lady,
Yeah.
we have all sorts of, and we also have gentlemen too. We have the forest man, and you know.
Is there a gender split in terms of who you help, and is there a reason for that?
We help men and women.
Yeah.
We look at need.
Yeah.
And we support people with physical disabilities, people who are isolated alone, people who are paralysed, people visually, hearing impaired, and who've also had problems with their spines or deformed legs because of all the weight carried.
Is there a social stigma to disability?
There isn't. Well, there is and there isn't.
Okay.
In many ways, there is. There is no stigma to disability, other than sometimes with faith or religion, the whole notion of karma comes in that says you must have done something in your previous life to have to suffer in this one. But that doesn't preclude the fact that also within the same faith is the thinking that if you give good to others, that's good karma for you.
Yeah. So why not help that person?
So you want to help and to support. So yes and no in that sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, certainly the support that we get from the community, we couldn't work in the way that we do if we didn't get the support we get from the community.
Yeah. Okay. And as I say, I assume that I knew about the Sherpa community, but I've already been educated. What's the biggest miscomprehension you think people have when you talk about the work you do with the Sherpa community?
I think the miscomprehensions that they have about the work that we do. I think there is this automatic assumption that we are a charity.
Yeah.
And we are not. And I think everybody always assumes that if you put money in a tin, especially now, that some of it's going to get eaten up in administration or marketing budgets or salaries. So I think people actually find it very difficult to accept the fact that when we say we are all volunteers and we work out of pocket, that we actually do. Yeah,
but it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's loads of charities that does amazing work, but certainly I've had conversations where people have said, I don't want that to go towards the CEO's salary. And I appreciate that perspective, because if you're giving, you want that money to go to the egg lady, don't you? You don't want it to go to somebody in the I want that money to go specifically to the egg lady only.
You want it to go to the egg lady, not the soup man.
True, the egg lady, not the soup man. And what have you learned most about the work you do?
What have I learned most? That every time that I go, I need to be prepared for things to have changed.
In what way?
In the way that the weather, for example. If I go in the springtime, I go thinking that hopefully the winter will be over and I'll go before the monsoon arrives. But we've noticed, certainly over the last 22 years, that there's been such a shift in the predictions of the weather.
Climate's changed.
Yes, we have avalanches when we're not meant to have avalanches. We have snow coming when we're meant to be in summer.
Yeah.
We have the rains coming early. So we find that the challenges of the terrain, which are also challenges for the community, because when they should be planting potatoes, the ground is frozen solid and nothing can be planted. And then if the rains come early, then everything rots. Yeah. So, these things are challenges. And also the prices of things. We're finding that because foodstuffs have to be carried in, the price of food is increasing exponentially. So what we could buy, we're not able to buy anymore. We need more resources to buy the food and every year we find that we have more in numbers. So we now support almost 80 people. And we also support children and single mothers. So, we're finding that our costs are going up year on year because the value of the pound is unpredictable.
Sure.
And then the costs of food being carried in and local inflation is going up.
But you mentioned, Vaz, that you can make quite a small amount go quite a long way.
Yes.
Relatively, I'd imagine the cost of a meal out there is lower than the UK, and if so, by what proportion?
Absolutely.
So how much would...
So about £350 to £370 would enable us to provide one person with one good meal a day for a year.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. So that is... you couldn't do that in the UK. That's incredibly good value, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Yeah.
And also, we have to think about the foods that we provide for people. Because
I was saying, how do you make it sustainable throughout the year?
So what we do is, we do mental health and health assessment. So we understand how many of our people understand money. Because if they don't understand money, then we will actually go to the shops, purchase those foods, and we will ferry them to their homes. Foods that will not go off.
Yeah.
If they understand money, we'll shop for a bit of that food and then we'll give them the rest of the money.
And support them.
But we also have 4 ladies who are single mothers who work on the ground with us. And they visit our older people once a month, every month, to make sure there's food, there's cooking
and
fuel,
some of it's fresh.
Wood,
Yeah.
There's wood for cooking, because there's no such thing as gas.
Yeah.
So there's wood for cooking, that there's water, that they're healthy and well. Because if they fall ill and they have nobody else, then there's no going out to buy food. There's no going out to buy the fuel to cook the food. So we have single mums that we employ. And we employ single mums because they're bringing up children on their own.
Yeah. You want to support
So
them to do
anyone
that.
who is supported in this project is the single mums who are remunerated.
And how big is loneliness with people who are sort of... Is that a challenge as well?
I think there is a whole community in the village setting, but if people are immobile and if they're not able to get out and about, a wheelchair doesn't really come in handy because of the terrain. Walking sticks and frames don't really help because of the angles in the terrain. So
it's people, isn't
it's
it?
People,
Yeah.
And a lot of our people have actually lost their children on the mountain. So we've had quite a lot of mums and dads who've lost their sons to the mountain.
Because you read a lot about the Sherpa community and the amount of deaths that actually go along. But it's quite it's quite scary. What have you learnt the most about from the people over there? So you must.
I'm loved.
Okay.
There's a lot of loving that goes around when we do what we do.
Yeah.
And the other thing also that it's done is that it's become infectious.
Yeah.
So I could be in one village, and then 10 days later I could be in another part of the country.
And they would have heard.
And someone would have heard. The mountain drums work beautifully.
Yeah, gotcha.
They look after me. People look after me.
Good.
And it helps because...
How long have you been going over there now?
Oh, since 1997, pretty much every year.
Yeah.
So many trips.
Yeah.
But in a really simple way, so that, people say, oh, has he come home for a cup of tea? Or a bowl of rah-rah noodles. Because, I know how expensive food is out there. And so, when I get invited for meals or something, I ask for the simplest thing. It's happy, it fills the hunger. It's freshly prepared, and it's what local people are eating. So we relate to each other. I think the fact that there is goodwill that goes about, and the fact that goodwill is infectious. Over the years, we've had more and more support from local communities. So, in some villages we have a party. When we have the older people come to collect their money and their resources, we have a social gathering and a party.
Oh, I love it.
And the guest house will provide food for everyone. Obviously, we'll pay for that food, but the guest house will provide that food at the cost at which they purchase it.
It's not. There's no sort of markup
So
on it.
it really helps us to be able to, in a particular area, get 25 people.
But you
to
need that
buy-in.
buy-in. You need that buy-in. You need that social side, don't you, to celebrate that? And what's the future of the charity?
Oh,
I'm going to stop saying charity. I'm going to, Charlotte, next time I say charity, you need to stop me. It's a direct Action initiative. Apologies.
That's fine. The future. Well, my mother asked me the same question. She's like, Vazzy, you're getting into your 50s now. You're already there. How long are you going to do this for? And I have very simple answers. That as long as my legs keep working,
Yeah.
I can walk into the mountains.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yeah.
As long as I can earn enough to be able to pay my way to go.
Yeah.
And as long as people keep supporting and donating, and we have the resources to distribute.
Why stop though? Why stop if you can carry on, if you're capable enough to carry on?
Absolutely. But if we have the resources and if people continue to give
Yeah.
to the work that we're doing, then we have something to distribute
Yeah.
at the other end
Yeah.
for these people.
Yeah.
Without the resources, we can't go.
What do you get out of it personally?
What do I get out of it personally?
So we had a really good guy who we interviewed, who wrote a book called The 5 Side Effects of Kindness, and he talks about the fact that kindness, even though it is altruistic, it's also something that where you get a good feeling about
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing that you should be ashamed of that, because that's not the motivation. But yes,
Totally not.
so you love the love from the community. Sounds
Yeah,
like a
I
big
do.
one for you.
But also the other thing that I really love is actually watching people get involved.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the efforts that people put into baking cakes and selling them. Ideas that they might have to do a sponsored run, or
Yeah.
something. They've got to dress up like Santa Claus and do a Santa dash.
Yeah.
You know, I love the ideas that people have to raise money to feed somebody.
Yeah.
And the joy that I get from them actually engaging.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely. I mean, it's a good feeling. It's like donating blood. You know, it's going somewhere. It's making a difference.
Yeah, great. So what we also do on the podcast, this is Charlotte's favourite bit, is on every single episode we have a question of the podcast, which isn't particularly kindness related, but we get engagement from our audience about it. So we've not prepared you for this bit because we never prepare any guests for this bit, but they're just questions that we like to ask people. So.
Okay.
The one we've got to start with, Charlotte, have you got a few in mind, or would you like to get my list up?
Yeah, let's go with the list.
Oh, okay, I'll get the list up.
The only ones I know are the one we had the most on and the one we had the most debate on.
Okay, that's fine. Well, you can ask those two, and I'll ask a few more. But the one that I think is probably the most pertinent is, as we've been talking about the egg lady,
Yes.
what's the best use of an egg? What do you think the best use of an egg is?
What's the best use of an egg? Oh gosh. I think Easter egg hunts.
Easter egg, chocolate eggs. It's the future. Yeah.
Easter egg hunts.
Yeah.
Chocolate makes people happy. Easter, eggs.
Okay, cool. Charlotte, have you got a question you want to ask?
Yeah, what's your favourite biscuit? It's always the most debate on that.
That, you know what? Genuinely, we've asked theological questions, we've asked super serious questions, we've asked quite deep questions. The one that caused the most debate was, what's your favourite biscuit? I just
Jaffa cake, and that was it.
oh yeah, it was the old Jaffa cake thing.
That was the Jaffa cake.
So what's your favourite biscuit?
My favourite biscuit's a rich tea.
Oh, classic. I like it.
It's a rich tea.
Yeah.
Because you can dip it in your tea.
It's not as good as a shortbread though, is it? Come on, let's be honest.
Scottish shortbreads.
But shortbread with the fats and the sugars. You see, rich teas I can share with my oldies up in Nepal.
True,
And I
yeah.
know that we're going to be okay.
Yeah, true. I'm not. Yeah, I diet and exercise are quite important to me at the minute, but I don't mind the odd little cheeky, the odd little cheeky treat every now and again. And what was your other one, Charlotte?
Who was your favourite Muppet?
Oh, who's my favourite Muppet? Oh, it's got to be Kermit.
Yeah. See, where did you go for favourite Muppet?
Fozzie.
Fuzzy. Yeah, Fuzzy's a classic. But did we allow people to go down the Fraggle Rock route or the Sesame Street route? Because somebody said the Count, and we didn't think the Count was.
The Count and the Cookie Monster are up there
Classics,
too, I think.
classics. What's your favourite piece of trivia?
My favourite piece of trivia?
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's the one that always gets people. That one.
interesting.
Yeah.
My No idea. I'm not even sure where I can go with. What do you mean by favourite piece?
So, what's your favourite piece of sort of knowledge that most people don't know that you sort of find yourself sharing?
Oh, I think probably it's got to be around, I think, poetry or literature.
Okay.
I love books. I love reading.
Well, you're in the right place because you are in the right place because we love reading. So that brings us on to the next question. If you could be any character in any of your favourite books, who would you choose?
This is the first question.
This is the first. I tell you what, that was 80 episodes ago. That was the first question we ever asked.
If I could be a character in my favourite book, I would like to be Herzog.
Okay.
And Herzog wrote the book Annapurna,
Okay.
which is about the first ascent of Annapurna. And the first paragraph starts off with the amputation of digits from the people who just come down from the expedition on the train to Delhi. So he's an amazing writer. It's a beautiful book.
Amazing. What's your ideal Sunday morning?
Ideal Sunday morning? Gosh. I think ideal Sunday morning is to be out in the garden barefoot with about half an hour of Tai Chi.
Okay.
As long as the weather holds and the grass isn't covered in worms.
Okay. That sounds like a good Sunday morning, actually. And a couple more. We'll go for... Oh, we've got too many now, Charlotte. Have you got any more in mind?
That was the only two I remember.
Right, let's go for...
We did ask, are humans generally good ones? But we barely got any responses.
Yeah, so do you think most people are generally good?
I think given half an opportunity to be, yes, people do err on the side of goodness.
I think so. I think you're right. Okay, two more questions.
Okay.
These are two of my favourite. And I forgot about this one. You're on the final of the Great British Bake Off. You've got to bake your showstopper to wow Paul Hollywood and... It's not Mary Berry anymore, is it? It's Prue. Is it Prue?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you baking and in what sort of shape and style? Right, okay, so this is a really good one.
Thank you.
Okay.
So you've got me there because I've got so many.
Go on, tell me, go on.
Well, first off, I think I'd like to do a lemon drizzle cake.
Okay, but we've got to go showstoppers. So what size, what shape is it?
Gosh.
You know, like you've got to like really wow the judges.
In that case, I'm going to change my mind.
Okay.
I'm going to go for Battlebrith,
Okay.
which is a Welsh tea bread,
Okay.
very classical Welsh tea bread.
Well, that sounds nice already.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I would probably bake it in the shape of Travan, which is a 3,000-foot mountain in the Snowdon Mountains.
Amazing. Not to scale though, right? Because that would be a bit big for the tent.
They actually call Travan the dragon because it looks like a sleeping dragon.
Oh.
So I think that if I was going to do Battlebrith, I'd do a Welsh bread in the shape of Travan, the shape of a mountain.
That
That
sounds.
reminds me of that poem that we have to analyse for English. The prelude, because he compares the mountain to a beast chasing him as he
Who
runs
wrote that?
away. I don't know. It's only an extract because the actual thing is like 27 books long or something.
Oh.
It's like.
Yeah, but does that count as a poem if it's 27 books long? I mean, yeah, it's in prose. Yeah, I see what you mean. Right, and the last one I'm going to answer for today is, what would you call your autobiography?
What would I call my autobiography? Oh gosh, that's a difficult one, isn't it? I think I'd call my autobiography Shanti. Shanthi.
Okay.
Used to be the name of my dog. She's gone to doggy heaven now. But Shanti essentially means peace, calm, equilibrium,
Okay.
balance.
Balanced.
Yeah?
Really like
I
that.
think
Dog is named after a serial killer.
Yeah, Dexter. Yeah.
yeah, Shanti, I think, yeah.
I really like that. So, where can people find out more about you and your organisation?
Well, there's a banner that you're
We're going to share.
posting.
Yeah, we're going to share.
Absolutely. And on that banner will be an email address and
Okay.
contact telephone number.
Okay, that will.
And we welcome anyone with ideas, any kind of imagination ideas, practical ideas, but also support. You know, we always welcome donations and volunteers.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a silly idea.
And what we'll do is we'll share all of that on our show notes for the podcast so that people can find out a lot more about you.
Absolutely.
when they come in. Thanks, I've really enjoyed this.
No, there's one more thing.
Oh,
we
cool.
will always put the offer out for anyone who actually wants to come with us on location.
Okay, cool,
If
amazing.
you want to travel with us,
Yeah.
we will take you and we will look after you.
How often do you go?
Every year.
Every year, amazing.
April,
So
May time.
brilliant. So we'll make sure that goes out in the podcast as well, so that our listeners can benefit from that if they'd like to. But really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've really enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed myself too. Some very difficult questions.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
So that was the last part with Az. What did we think?
Yeah, I actually remember being in that interview. It was pretty decent.
It was a good one. Why are you taking your top off, Soph? We don't. Just to let you know, we normally record the podcast fully clothed. We don't do it naked.
I'm boiling up, that's why.
Oh, you're
she's
boiling up.
taking a jump
All
on
right,
the
okay,
top.
fair enough. Shall we get on with the show?
Have another podcast.
I think
everyone in the living room heard that.
I think you may have broken my podcast mic as well. Tuesday. Right, but the end.
It's never the end, because the end is always the beginning of something entirely new. And now we're going to get the question of the podcast answers from last week, even though I can't remember what the question of the podcast is, because I do not have that long-term memory.
I know that someone said, ask their grandson, and then the grandson said
It's the dinosaur
Yeah, well,
question.
it was Sophie's question last time, and Sophie's going to tell us what last week's question was, aren't you, Soph?
Yup.
And what was it?
What is your favourite dinosaur?
Okay. Now, the reality is, right, we had a decent number of comments on this,
read them
and
all?
Sophie's going to share every single one.
Nenny said, just for me, Grandad Potato.
Yeah.
Grandad said it.
Yeah. Or a Diplodocus or T-Rex. Louise, friend of the show and world's greatest cousin.
Velociraptor, she said that.
Al McCann said Triceratops.
My favourite as well. Good choice.
Al, good choice, Al. I tell you what, that was like, yeah, good choice. I like that. Alan Bowley.
T-Rex.
Alan Bowley said it has to be T-Rex. Brenda thinks this is an amazing question and said
T-Rex again.
T-Rex. So the T-Rex and the Triceratops are pretty popular. Rob Bishop said, great question. I asked my grandson.
And he said me.
So that was good. Next one.
Triceratops.
You have to read the person, though.
You got to read who said
Francis Barrett.
it. Francis Barrett said Triceratops.
Andrew
Berwick.
Raptors.
Raptors. And Tasman Kane said Stegosaurus. And it always has been since I've been a little girl. Now, that was what we got from Facebook, but on Twitter. we got loads of answers as well. So thank you for all your amazing tweets about this question of the podcast. Let me give you some of those.
Some. There's tons.
Now,
We go with some unique
there
ones.
is a new question, a new contributor who is just called on Twitter fan of David Paisley, who I think is a Northern Irish politician. He said Brontosaurus, Sparky said T-Rex, Cookie said Diplodocus, Heidi said I'll say Triceratops.
You said Diplodocus, it's not.
Diplodocus. Is it Diplodocus or
Yes, it
Diplodocus?
is.
Diplodocus.
Diplodocus. Peter Adcock said, I assume we can't include politics in our answer. bit near the mark. But I said yes, and he didn't respond. So maybe he's staying away from controversial. Maybe that's the case. And Rachel
I want
Vahey.
to start a Twitter war.
Yeah, Rachel Vahey. Right, but this is true, right? If somebody tries to start a debate on Twitter, I think there's no point in doing that. Like, nobody has ever persuaded me on social media to change my mind.
Exactly, because it easily, through actual physical communication, it's easy to express exaggeration on certain words and certain emphasis.
And just so you know, listeners, if you see me out and about, buy me a beer, because I'm more persuaded with a beer in my hand than I am on Twitter. And Rachel Vahey was super definitive on Twitter. She thinks Triceratops. And then she said, I feel no need to justify it. It just is. I like that confidence.
No one said Brachiosaurus, and I'm just like...
What's a Brachiosaurus?
I have no idea.
It's not the one with the tall neck.
There we go.
I thought that was a Diplodocus.
No.
Anyway,
I don't even know what to do.
in this segment of dinosaur talk, I don't know what's happened to the podcast now. We've gone into like a dinosaur related one.
Raw.
Raw. That was the most human raw. That, my friends, is truly the end, and we'll see you next week.
Bye!
Cheers,